Good morning. And this morning I wanted to be making a help video because I like making help videos because I actually consider that they're useful, and the proof of the pudding and all that is that they are useful, and some people have been happy with the fact that I've provided them with some information that's helped them sort some things out with their consoles. So I enjoy making them, and apart from anyone else being helped by them, it also helps me as well because, well, frankly, I've got a crappy memory and sometimes I need to refer back to them. So everyone's a winner. However, while I was working yesterday on putting together some of the graphics for the video, and don't get too excited because anyone who knows my thumbnails knows that I'm not particularly great with graphics, but I was putting together some graphics for the video. And while I was doing that, I came across some stories relating to, guess what? Yeah, you guessed it, loot boxes. And we've had some developments. And specifically, we've heard from both the ESRB and PEGI in relation to people asking them, are loot boxes gambling? Well, I can give you a simple answer to that, but their answer is more pertinent because they're the ones who get to make decisions about these things. The ESRB were the first ones to respond because they were the first ones to be asked. And this is what a spokesman for the ESRB, or the Entertainment Software Rating Board, said. ESRB does not consider loot boxes to be gambling. Yeah, right, okay. While there's an element of chance in these mechanics, the player is always guaranteed to receive in-game content, even if the player unfortunately receives something they don't want. We think of it as a similar principle to collecting card games. Sometimes you'll open a pack and get a brand new holographic card you've had your eye on for a while, but other times you'll end up with a pack of cards you already have. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm calling bullshit on this. This belies a level of ignorance of the processes involved in loot boxes, which, well, they all too often utilise exactly the same tricks as fruit machines, such as flashing lights and sounds to help spike endorphin levels. When I was a kid, I used to collect football cards, and my kid now collects Pokemon cards, among some other things. And I can tell you now, from my own personal experience and from watching my own kid, that loot boxes are a completely different beast. If you look at one of my previous videos on microtransactions, in the background I had a little game from Steam, a freebie called Microtransactions Simulator. Basically, you have to click on things and it opens boxes. It's very, very straightforward, very, very simple. But I found while I was putting the video together, I was playing this game, and when the rarer boxes, as they were calling them, were opening and you get the little flashing light and the little sound, even though I knew what I was doing, I was getting a little spike of excitement for a stupid little thing like that. So we all know that these things spike our endorphin levels, they excite us, and that's what they're designed to do. They create an addictive cycle, and some people are more prone to that than others. In cards, with these card games, there's no motivator to keep opening the collectible cards other than the inherent value of the cards themselves. You know, it's tangible. With loot boxes, you're encouraged to feel the need for them because they offer the potential of further reward in the game. And as you use the rewards, you get to show your level, or better still, or worse still, depending on how you look at it, and you know how I look at it, you get to dominate the opposition. You're thus encouraged to spend more and more money to get better and better rewards so you can do better in the game. And meanwhile, other players are also encouraged to invest their money so they too can compete. It's a never-ending cycle of pay to win, with no guaranteed outcome. And if that's not gambling, well, tell me what is. Please, ESRB, tell me what is gambling if that is not gambling. And we'll get to something else about how companies are manipulating these feelings in us in a minute. PEGI, though, took a slightly different approach, and they actually said that it wasn't up to them to decide whether it was gambling or not. Now, I kind of understand that. It's not up to them, it's up to governments, it's up to the gambling boards within each country to make these decisions. And I kind of understand that, but if we're waiting around for governments to change the rules on this, then we're going to be waiting some years. But here's what they said, and this was from a guy called Dirk Bosmans, and this is what he said. In short, our approach is similar to that of the ESRB. I think all rating boards do. I'm not sure what he means there. USK in Germany as well. The main reason for this is that we cannot define what constitutes gambling. That's the responsibility of national gambling commissions. Our gambling content descriptor is given to games that simulate or teach gambling as it's done in real life in casinos, racetracks, etc. If a gambling commission would state that loot boxes are a form of gambling, then we would have to adjust our criteria to that. Well, that's all very well, isn't it? But they're basically shirking responsibility and saying that this is up to the gambling boards to make these decisions. I think that they could approach this from a slightly different angle and look at it from, does it do any harm? And surely they could do it from that perspective. We get this with films. If a film is considered not suitable, it doesn't have to be specifically related to a particular thing like sex or gambling or violence. It has to be just one thing that they can look at and say, well, is this going to be harmful, I don't know, to kids watching this particular movie, so therefore we'll give it a higher rating. And I think PEGI could do that. They could look at it and say, okay, we can't decide whether this is gambling or not, but we can decide whether it's harmful or not. That's surely within their domain, if you like. They could make that decision. Surely they must have a remit to make a decision about whether something's harmful enough. Otherwise, what exactly are they there for? That's what I am wondering. Surely they can see that these loot boxes are having a detrimental effect, certainly on some gamers, and specifically on kids. Surely. And isn't it better to err on the side of caution here? All we're asking is for them to give a higher rating to games that include these loot boxes. But of course that's not going to happen because there's too much money involved, and these companies that are making these games, they're going to lose an awful lot of money if these games are made 18, because some parents will obviously let their young kids play 18 rated games, but a lot of us won't. So I don't know. I think both of these agencies are shirking responsibility somewhat, and I wish they'd pull their finger out and get on with it. On a slightly more positive note, the petition that's been put up to the UK Parliament has now reached enough votes whereby the government has to respond. And I'll put a link into that petition in the description below. And if you guys feel the need, if you're in the UK especially, if you feel that you support the idea that we should be doing something about loot boxes, I suggest that you go and sign it, because at least we can maybe push it to get debated in the House of Commons. Now, they're not guaranteed to debate it, but at least we can bring it into the eyes of the MPs in this country. We can bring it to the forefront. We can make them sit up and take notice. And then maybe we can get the Gambling Commission in this country to do something. And then maybe the ESRB will do something. Personally, I'd rather that we didn't have to go through regulation. But let's be honest, there's no sign that the companies are going to do anything other than keep pushing for more and more loot boxes and more ways of siphoning money out of our wallets. And on that note, in other but related news, we heard this week that Activision have issued a patent that shows plans to use matchmaking to encourage gambling. The buying of loot boxes. And I'll put a link into the patent itself and also to an article talking about it. But here's an abstract of the patent. This is encapsulating basically what the patent is for. And this is the words of the patent itself. I'm not adding anything here. And this is what it says. A system and method is provided that drives microtransactions in multiplayer video games. The system may include a microtransaction arrange matches, not very good English, but that's what it says, to influence game-related purchases. For instance, the system may match a more expert marquee player with a junior player to encourage the junior player to make game-related purchases of items possessed or used by the marquee player. A junior player may wish to emulate the marquee player by obtaining weapons or other items used by the marquee player. Or put another way, you're getting your arse handed to you on a plate, and you can buy this to help that not happen. Yeah, brilliant! These things aren't designed to force us to buy microtransactions, are they? No, we can make the choice. That's what I keep being told in my comments. You can choose whether you want to make these microtransactions or not. It's up to you. Really? What a crock. I'm sorry, but we know. And this shows categorically that the companies out there are looking at ways not just to have these things in game, but to get us to use them. Keep us playing, keep us paying. I keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it. That's what this is all about. Now, Activision have responded, and they said this. This was an exploratory patent filed in 2015 by an R&D team working independently from our game studios. It has not been implemented in-game. Well, maybe not. Yet. But we know this is going to happen. Why would it not happen? If this is a way that they can encourage us to spend more money on these microtransactions because we're being put in a position where, in effect, we're hitting a wall because we're coming up against players that are doing better than us, then of course they're going to implement these things in-game. It's just a matter of time, isn't it? If there's any way the AAA gaming industry can fleece gamers, they're going to use it. That's just the way it is. We have to just accept that's the way it is now. And all we can do is fight the more extreme elements as they come in. But if anyone thinks that this is a one-off, they're living in a fantasy world, because you can bet that EA, Warner, Microsoft, Sony, all the other companies out there are looking at this, and they're looking to implement similar mechanics into games to keep us playing and paying. At this stage, we know what games as a service means. It means we're being bent over and shafted with a rusty spike. And not just once either. Over and over and over again. I was talking to a friend of mine who's also got a YouTube channel. His name's Grant, and his channel is Over the Edge. And we were talking about this morning, I think. And we were saying that it's got to the point now where we're so depressed with the AAA market that we're on the cusp of just walking away. That's how bad it's got now. But the sad thing is, if you look at what Activision are trying to do here, well, it's just going to get worse before it gets better, if it ever will get better. I don't know. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. You know, the fact that we've got the UK Parliament sitting up and taking notice now. But the fact is that governments take decades to sort stuff like this out, and they are already well behind the curve. As we've seen from the ESRB and PEGI, they aren't up to speed with this at all. I mean, let's be honest, those guys aren't gamers. They don't know what's going on. So it's up to us. It's up to me, and it's up to you guys out there. Be loud, be vocal. You know, sign the petition. Speak to your MP. Get it so they know what's going on. Get it so they know that this is a problem that is going to build and build, and it's going to be a problem that's going to come back and bite us on the arse in the future as we create more and more kids who are anaesthetised to the idea of gambling and think it is normal. Because that's where we're heading. I really didn't want to do another video on this subject, but I just felt I had to. So hopefully next week perhaps I'll get out some help videos and be back to normal service. But in the meantime, I really do need a cup of tea today. So I'm off to get myself a cup of tea, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Let me know in the comments what you think, and we'll have a chat as ever. But I'm out of here. And as I say, speak to you again soon. Bye.